tiny one with foundation paper piecing. You can see the paper on the back. And this is for the Live Well, Live Strong quilt. You can see the small version of it right here. And you can also see the paper that's on the back as we've pieced this together. So this is a teeny tiny foundation paper piecing version of the Live Well, Live Strong quilt. And you can get your quilt pattern at Stitches Quilting. I have put mine into a binder right here. And you can see the classic version behind me. And this is the negative space versions right here. And of course today we're doing the foundation paper piecing. We're going to do the tiny self-reliant quilt block. And this quilt has 26 topics about women's wellness in it. So let's go ahead and get started with our video today. Let me know where you're from. I'm Deanna from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm with Stitches Quilting. So let me go ahead and switch the camera to the overhead view and let's get started. So first off, the quilt pattern itself, it originally came with instructions for the original size quilt, which is 20 inches by 20 inches. I have in my binder different things so that I can see my individual worksheets. And right back here, I keep the foundation paper piecing portion of my pattern. And here I've printed this off on newsprint paper. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. When you print it off on your newsprint paper, which is available to download, you do want to make sure that your 1-inch guide measures 1 inch so that your block comes out an accurate size. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in my book. This is how I organize my pattern right here. And now we're going to go ahead and work on the paper piecing portion of the self-reliant quilt block. So you can see there are 3 portions to do right here. There's section A, B, and C. So we're going to go ahead and cut these into their individual sections. And you can see each section has dashed lines that we're going to stitch on. And the outer solid line, hi Randy, how are you? Is your outside line for the actual quilt block. So let's go ahead and get these started. I just used scraps of fabric that I have from my original quilt. So today I'm using a solid fabric that is called denim. And then I'm using a solid fabric that is a Riley Gray. So I'm using Riley Blake solids. Randy, how are you doing today? So I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. And we're going to try to string feed some of these little quilt blocks together. And you can see right here, I'm going to mark what is blue and what is gray on my pieces so that I can go ahead and have more confidence as I'm stitching this out. So these are blue, and I'm putting bees on there. This is a gray and a gray. This is a blue, a gray, and a gray. And I can see that as I look at this quilt block right here. Here's a blue, and a blue, and a gray, and a gray. So let me go ahead and hold these up in case the camera was too far away. So you can see how I've labeled each piece as either a B for blue or a G for gray. And that helps me to know how I'm actually going to, hey, yes, I'm early, Liz. I'm trying to get up. Betty has got a wound care appointment with the original people. It's a telehealth appointment, but she's got a wound care appointment with the original people, and it's at 11:30, so I'm trying to get up there today to try to be there for when she has this appointment with the nurse there at the house. So I'm going to set my 2 fabrics together. Let's start with A. And we're going to have gray first because that's what's right there for A1. So we're going to do gray right there, and we're going to bring this up to the denim, and we're going to go ahead and lay that right there with 1/4 of an inch, almost 1/4 of an inch over. I'm going to go ahead and take this to my sewing machine and stitch on that little line right there. So let's go ahead and pull up my needle. And once again, I'm using a teeny tiny stitch. That's just a 2.0 on my sewing machine. And I am going to actually put this in a second time because the bottom and top blocks right here are the same. So we're going to try to string feed some of these things. So I'm going to take my ends of my fabric, and let's go ahead and start that on the B section because A and B are the same. So we're going to go ahead and lay that down and do the same type of stitching that we just did on this last block. And then we'll press it together. So let's go ahead and bring this over. And we'll get this going. So Liz, how are you doing? Yes, she is doing amazing. This is with the Original Wound team. And I just want to get a sense for how she's doing, so that, because they're going to let us know how much the wound has healed up so far from the inside. In some places it was like 6 centimeters deep, and other places it was 7 centimeters deep. So I'm anxious to see, where it's at. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and take my 2 solids, and this is the center row to the Self-Reliant block. I've got gray and blue right there, so I'm going to just go ahead and move this over and stitch this right on this line. So she's really doing really good. And Brant, unfortunately, is only 120 pounds right now. He keeps losing weight, so we got to figure that out. So we're trying to figure out that one. But that's, I don't know. We're going to brainstorm on that one. Okay, so now, for those of you, I am helping. Hi, it's Dolores. Hello. It's so good to see everyone. Okay, so I brought my pressing mat over here, and I'm going to press these open. It's so good to see you guys. So we're still helping take care of them. We do have another sibling that's going to stay there this weekend on Friday and Saturday night. And so then Corey and I were anxious to kind of get back to the house, do some cleaning, and do some decorating for Christmas. So that's what we're planning on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and trim off some of my excess things here. And first of all, I'm going to go ahead and trim off my excess seam allowance. I don't need a pure 1/4 inch. And I just put in a new blade into my little rotary cutter this morning. Okay, so there's that one. Let's go ahead and trim this one. So we're kind of doing them, stacking them together and doing some string feeding. And you can do this if you feel comfortable. And then we've opened this up. And once again, we're going to go ahead and trim this off right here. And I'm leaving extra fabric there, but that's okay. And I'm going to trim this up. So, yeah, so you know what? He is eating really well, Liz. We just gotta, I don't know. We had some blood work done yesterday, and but he does have a good appetite. He just, every single day, it's like he's almost losing a pound a day. So we've got to just kind of get on top of that. Okay, so now right here, let's go ahead and trim this one down a little bit more too. So you can see I'm just kind of building out this little block, and I'm trimming off the excess fabric that I don't need right now. And this one actually goes pretty fast as a tiny foundation paper piecing block. You guys, how should we quilt the original, this little foundation paper piecing quilt? So we need to start brainstorming that. But you can see here, I've got my quilt top put together, and I'm anxious to start picking out my papers and experimenting with some hand quilting on there. I thought we could machine quilt it, but we can also hand quilt it. Okay, so I've got this put together right like that, and I'm going to just fold my next section right here. I could actually do this, and I could leave almost all of that solid, completely solid across, because it's all the same color. Can you see that right there? So we don't have to necessarily do that as 3 different sections, because they're all completely blue. So I'm going to show you a little shortcut and a trick here. We're going to fold this back on just the next section that is gray, because I left enough fabric to cover across all of these 3 blues, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for that one. So I'm going to fold back my between B4 and B5, and we're going to just kind of do a little shortcut, which is fine. You don't have to do this. You can see on this one, I actually pieced them all as separate pieces, but I just thought I'd show you this shortcut just in case. And I'm going to just trim it off right where that next stitching line is. So let me go ahead and review this for you again. So you can see on this piece of paper, we've got a gray and 3 blues. So I don't necessarily have to go through and piece all 3 blues. I can leave it one solid piece across. And then I'm just trimming it between the B4 and B5, between the B and the G for gray. So the blue and the gray. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay this other gray right here. Let's go ahead and do it this way. And we're going to just stitch that across. So let me go ahead and put this under here, and we'll do that with our exact same one. So this one goes pretty fast. And let's go ahead and put our paper right side up, face up, and we're going to just stitch across that. Okay, there we go. Just straightening that out a tiny little bit. Let's do the same thing right over here. I'm going to fold back between the B and the blue and the gray there on the end. Now you can make your block any way you want. You might want to just make your thimble a colorful thimble of colors. So you can see I did that exact same thing right there. I'm going to grab my gray and I'm going to just stitch right on top of that. So then I will have these two top pieces actually complete. So there is a little shortcut for you guys. There we go. Now let's come back. I've got these 3 pieces string fed together. Looks kind of messy. Let's go ahead and clean it up. And so these ones are now finished. Let's give that a good press and we'll go back to that center piece right there. Okay, let's go ahead and pull this out. Okay, I would stitch in the ditch. No, do no quilting that takes away from the beauty of it. Dolores, I love that idea. Great idea. Yeah, I think so too. And maybe even using like a little pearl cotton thread with it and put a solid fabric on the back. Okay, so you can see those 2 pieces are like that. And now we are going to go ahead and switch this around. And let's, this is the first time I've tried this, so hopefully this will work. We'll experiment and see if this shortcut actually works for us. If not, then we've got to do it the traditional way. But it's always good to experiment, right? We might not be able to do it quite this way, because I might need a broader center in the middle. So, but let's go ahead and try it out and we'll see what happens. Okay, so there we've got that right there and we've got this one right here. So these 2 pieces are ready. Okay, oh, let me go ahead and silence my phone. I don't need my phone ringing right now. Okay, here was our center piece I was working on. I'm going to open this up and just go ahead and fold it like this. Let me go ahead and bring that down. And we are now going to trim this off, trim off the excess fabric. And let's go ahead and do trim and trim over on this side with our little pieces of paper. And let's go ahead and trim right here. There we go. Okay, now we are going to, I'm going to just fold this down, my center piece. There's gray, blue, and gray. I'm going to fold down the paper on the dashed line between C2 and C3. And I'm going to trim my excess fabric right here. So I'm going to just put my little ruler right here. And I'm going to do a little less than 1/4 of an inch. Bring that over. And now I'm going to take another piece that will fit there. So that's another piece that I have right here. And I'm going to match this line up with my other blue fabric. And we're going to put it underneath the sewing machine and stitch on top of that dashed line. So let's go ahead and do that. Do you guys sew with your shoes off or on? I always sew. I feel like I have more control of my sewing machine foot if I have my shoes off. Let's go ahead and press that open again. And now we'll see if our experiment has worked with these top 2 pieces and if our block will look the same. Let's go ahead and just clean off this block. We've got some excess fabric around here and some of the newsprint paper. So let's go ahead and trim this along the sides so that now we can piece these together with the 1/4 inch seam that's on the paper. So here we go. Okay. Okay, so now you can see these are our 3 pieces. And now we're going to go ahead and put them right sides together. And we're going to see if this actually works. So when you're putting them right sides together, you can see here I've got the 1/4 inch seam allowance that is the dashed line running across this, and I'm going to just stitch right on that line, and it should be the same on this other side. So let's go ahead and just run this through the sewing machine. I'm using that teeny tiny seam allowance, so it's a 2.0 on my machine. I wonder what size do you guys use on your machine? Do you just go to the lowest? You like to sew with them off. Yes, you know what? I think sewing with them off is really nice too. Oh, look at that. So our experiment worked. Look at how beautiful that is. Isn't that just so lovely? So let's go ahead and bring this over here. There's a lot of things that you can actually do with foundation paper piecing, and I hope you enjoy this skill building of this, because we are going to have some fun with some other paper piecing patterns a little bit later, and it's amazing the things that you can make and the accuracy that you can actually have. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this together. There we go. And we're done with our little cute little self-reliant block. So remember, there's lots of self-reliance, and look at how that worked just so perfectly. And here is the one that is pieced with the 3 different blues. So I just wanted to give you guys an option that you can use one solid piece across that top, or use 3 separate pieces. That's up to you. Let's go ahead and press this like this. Get a good press on there. Whenever I'm pressing these, you do want to just use a dry iron. You do not want to use a steam or use starch of any kind. And often what I do is I press them really hard, I turn them upside down, and I put my acrylic ruler on top of them. And then I will go ahead and kind of set that right there. I just put that inside, put something of weight on there. Okay, so now remember, for self-reliance, there is emotional self-reliance, there is financial self-reliance, and then there's self-reliance in terms of our needs being met. So we want to kind of make sure that we go ahead and we identify what maybe is a vulnerability that we have in our self-reliance and work on those topics, study some different options that we might have. So for example, for someone being young, if they're wanting to make more money, one thing they could do is go back to school or to build more trade skills. And then after you study everything, then you go ahead and decide and act. So you want to go ahead and have a really good solutions cycle there. So we definitely want to build self-reliance in our lives. It gives us much confidence as we deal with things day to day. And it gives us confidence in our emotional self too. So there's definitely things that we can do, but there is a difference between emotional self-reliance and, oh, Liz, you just made a Christmas tree in paper piecing. Wow, I'm so excited to see it. I have got to go pop over. Okay, now I'm going to show you. Let's go ahead and flip this around because it's been sitting here for a little while. I have never had an acrylic ruler warp or have anything go wrong with this. I do this with large blocks. I do it with all sorts of things, even after I've starched and ironed it. The reason why you don't want to starch and iron these blocks is because it will ruin the paper. So you can see that it's a lot flatter. I would probably leave this on for a little bit longer. Okay, let's flip the camera. You guys, it's so good to see you, and I'm so glad everybody's doing well. And we are looking forward to a great week. I will actually be home on Friday, and I'm really looking forward to that. And on Friday, we are going to be working on the industry quilt block. So, and the industry quilt block is just that we want to stay productive. We want to stay busy with our minds, because not being busy. So that's what we're going to talk about on and our bodies. And to just have industry and feel like we're being productive in whatever that may be. So anyways, I love you guys tons. I can't wait to see you on Friday, and I'll be here at noon is what time I should be here. So anyways, we'll talk to you a little bit later, and have a great day, you guys, and build up that self-reliance and maybe make some homemade Christmas gifts, and you know, who knows what we can do. So anyways, love you guys tons, and I will chat with you a little bit later. Have a great day.